Hello Stampers! I've got a project for you today that's kind of fun. We have fall coming up. I know it is still July, but you know it's just off in a couple months. So here we go. We're going to do a fall card today. And I decided to bring some leaves out. And we have autumn leaves stamp set. Ignore all my paint on this. This has been a well-loved, well-used stamp set that's in the annual catalog. So we're going to be using that, and we'll be putting in this whole scene here. And I did some fuzziness with colors in the background just so it looks like there's something beyond these leaves, like maybe trees or such. So we're going to just do this step by step as normal. All the dimensions for the card will be down below this video. Just click more under the description and you'll see them there along with the links to the products that'll take you to my online store. So we're going to start with our main panel. We're going to be using Very Vanilla today. I know I almost always start with basic white, but I decided to use Very Vanilla because I wanted a more like, I don't know, well-worn piece of paper. So Very Vanilla, and this is 3 by 5. I'm going to start off with stamping our leaves first, and I'm using Daffodil Delight. I wanted to start with my lightest color that I wanted in my leaves. By the way, you do not need to use the same colors I use, but if you're like challenged with colors, feel free. I'm going to start with the biggest leaf here, and it has like a pattern in it, and we're going to stamp this out so I can show you. Again, Daffodil Delight, and then I'm just going to stamp it on my paper where I want it here. Down towards the bottom, I'm angling it in. And see that pattern there? That's fine. That pattern will get lost with all our coloring that we're going to do. So don't think that you have to just go with the pattern that's there, because if you stamp it in a light color, then you can just do your own thing with your color options, and that'll kind of fade into the background. Now we're going to put some of these smaller leaves. There's this stamp here that has 2 leaves, and we're going to use this also. I'm going to add just one down here, kind of angling it the opposite direction. Then we'll put a couple up here, right about there. And then we're going to stamp this again just so we have one more up here at the top. And there is our leaf images. Now these leaves also come with the stems. We're going to be using the stems and the vein stamp for this. There's one for each, the smaller leaves and the larger leaves. We're going to use Memento Tuxedo Black to put these in. Let's do our larger one first. We're just going to line these up. There's our large leaf. And then we'll do our smaller leaves here. This just has the one. There's our 2. Now we have the one up here. There's our veins and stems for all of our leaves. We're going to be adding to those. So don't worry about that. They're just kind of hanging out there, because we're going to use a marker later on and just connect things up. So that's another thing you can think about. That's something you really want to, you don't have to like make sure your stems are all out to the side, because you can just take a marker and take them out. Okay, now we're going to start coloring and putting in our background. So I'm going to start, I think, with some blue here. We got Balmy Blue. I'm going to be using blending brushes for this. I'm just going to add some of this Balmy Blue, and I try not to go directly on top of the images. I'm going to the side of them. It's all right if you go up and meet them, it's fine. And if you just have like spots here and there, that's perfect, because that's going to add to like your sky. Your sky's not always just a solid blue. It's got clouds in it. So we'll add some of this blue down here. There we go. There's our balmy blue in our scene. And at any time you can stop. I kind of push the envelope sometimes on the things I put in here. Now I'm going to put some crumb cake in. I love crumb cake. It's like such a great color. So I'm going to put some crumb cake in here. We're going to put it down here along the side. Like that. You can add some there. There's a little crumb cake. Okay. And now I think I'm going to do my coloring of my... Now I'm going to add some... Let's do some copper clay in here. And you can get as dark as you want with some of these colors. I don't sweat it if I get a little on my leaves because we're going to be doing some coloring in there. And every one of these little pieces that you do is going to be a little different. And I try not to press real hard when I'm doing this. That way you get a more softer look. You don't have just like really dark spots here and there. Okay, so I think I like that. How about just a little bit of... we're going to do Pretty Peacock next. And I'm really just putting some of this Pretty Peacock on the end of my brush because this is a dark color. And I think I just want some down here at the bottom of this leaf. Yeah, I like that darkness there. Let's put it down here on the very corner too. I think that's pretty. All right, and I think that darkness will help keep this leaf like you can really see it really well. It's a good contrasting color. All right, so let's add some green in here on our leaf, our big leaf. We're going to work on our big leaf first. Let's do some dark lemon lime twist. I want to make sure I'm not coloring past that yellow. I'm going to just add this green up through here and leave some of that yellow there on the ends. That Daffodil Delight that we stamped in. Now these are leaves, so I'm just kind of scrubbing this on a little bit. I'm using the side of the brush of this Stampin' Blend marker. I like that. I think I'm going to add some to this leaf down here too. It looked kind of lonely there. I am coloring this whole leaf in because it was kind of swallowed up by that blue that I put on. I just love coloring. So we're going to add some dark Granny Apple Green. Now I'm just layering these, so I don't want to cover up all the color that I put in there before. So that lemon lime twist, I want to make sure I'm not covering that all up. So I like that. Maybe put some of this down here on the middle of that little leaf there. I'm liking that. Okay, so let's get a little darker here and do a little, get away from that green, that, I don't know what you call it, chartreuse. And we're going to do a little shaded spruce. This is the dark shaded spruce. I'm just going to add a little bit of this to the center of this, down to the stem. Just little squiggles in there. And then I think I'm just going to, inside of that, I'm going to add a little basic black. And that comes down to that stem. Again, you can use all your fall colors for your leaves. I wanted this to look like it's just like the beginning of fall. You got different shades of leaves in here. So our next little leaves up here, I want them more yellow, golden color. So this is Dark Daffodil Delight. So we stamped in Daffodil Delight, and I'm adding some Daffodil Delight in the center of these. And I think I might add some on top of this green down there, just to give it a little different color than what this leaf is. So that was Dark Daffodil Delight. And then we have some, this is the light copper clay. I'm just going to add some to the very base of these leaves, kind of flicking it up into the leaf a little bit. Like it's just dark down there around the stem area. Yeah, looking good there. All right. So now back to our basic black. This is the dark basic black, and that's the one that I used for the center of this one too. We're just going to be using the fine line on this. And this is where I'm going to bring my stems out to the edge of the paper. Okay, and then I'm going to add, off of these stems, I'm going to add some curlicues. Whoop. Like that one. I think we'll get a little wider here. You can just go to town with these little curlicues. Just do them any which way you want to. Try not to grip your pen really hard, because then you're going to get some shaky marks. I do much better if I just like very lightly hold on to my marker. Okay, so we have some curlicues in there. I'm just going to outline my stamps. Now I do want some little jagged marks here, so I'm just wiggling this down, these leaves, because they have little choppy edges to them. Choppy. All right, here we go. Just outlining those leaves so they just pop on this page. See how those really stand out when you outline them. We'll do this one. This one has nice, not so choppy. So just lines. Really seeing the edge of those leaves now. So you can really cut down on your designer series paper costs too when you start making your own backgrounds like this. I mean, you can make a whole panel of just some leaves. Get your crafting time in and make something really beautiful that you're proud of. So there is that. All right. I want to stamp some sentiments here and have them in our background. So I pulled the two sentiments out of this. One says with a grateful heart, and the other one says I'm thankful for. No, it says I'm thankful. So I want to stamp those lightly in our background, and I'm going to use crumb cake to start out with. These are going to be our really light ones in the background. So I'm just going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp off and stamp on. And we'll just go in and out with this little design, this little sentiment here. I'm leaving some room in between for our other sentiment. So this time we're going to do with a grateful heart that says I'm thankful, all those ones that I put on there. You can stamp off, or if you don't think that's dark enough, you can stamp right on. I just want some little different strengths of color here for that sentiment. Okay. So that was crumb cake. I think I'm going to do just a couple in this copper clay, so they kind of really stand out then. So I'm going to add one right here. Let's add one down here. You can overlap these sentiments, it's fine. And let's bring in with a grateful heart here. We can add it right up here Just make sure you're stamping them right side up. My last one here, I had stamped one upside down. You know what? You got enough stuff going on, nobody even notices. Okay, so there's our little background that we have. Very pretty. So I just wanted to push the envelope even more. And I don't normally start dragging a bunch of stuff out, but I thought it'd be nice if we had, you know, shimmer going on with our little scene here. So I decided to go take the Wink of Stella. This is the clear Wink of Stella. And if you haven't used it before, it just puts like a really shimmery look to it. And it doesn't really stand out on camera, but in person, you get a really pretty shimmer on your leaves. So I'm just going to go over these leaves. I'm going to make sure that my pen's going here. If your pen's not working, you just squeeze the center where it says push, and it'll start flowing for you. Okay, and you're going to notice that it kind of makes your leaves a little darker. And that won't last long. Once it dries, it must be alcohol based or something. They don't stay dark. If you notice that there's it's made your colors shift to a darker color. You don't have to worry about that. I think my Wink of Stella is about had it. I'm gonna have to put it on my next order, because I especially love this in the fall and winter to do just this type of stuff with. So we have that shimmer on here. That was Wink of Stella. And I think I want some little tiny curly cues. And I just have a ballpoint pen here. It's a black ballpoint pen. And I'm just going to come off. Let's get this going here. Come off of this. Make some little curly cues. You know, you do you. You don't have to get all crazy like I do. But I think it's kind of fun having different weights of lines in your work. There we go. Little smaller ones there. And then I wanted a gold edge to this. And you can certainly put a piece of gold designer paper behind your main panel here. But I like using these Prismacolor broad-tipped metallic markers. They have gold and they have copper and they have, I think, silver. But I just run this down the edge of my cardstock, and I have the tip of the marker half on, half off the edge there, and you can get a really nice straight line. Now you can practice this with a little scrap of paper if you want. It's not hard to do. So there's my little gold edge to it. It shows up again. Things don't show up well on camera, even though I have 4 lights here. Maybe why? Because it may be a little brighter than it normally is in real life. But there is our panel done. Okay. So now I want to flip this paper over before we go any further. Oh, we've got a nice clean sheet here. Now we're going to be putting our card together. So I'm just going to run my card base here. I think I'm going to do my inside first. And my card base is pretty Peacock, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. And I folded it in half to create my quarter card. And inside, I'm just going to have 2 panels here. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment "I'm thankful" inside. I'm going to grab my stamp again, and I'm going to use copper clay for this. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it on my Very Vanilla panel. This panel is 3 3/4 by 5. And I use that copper clay for that. It really stands out on that Very Vanilla. Okay, so that was for our inside. Now I'm going to layer this up with a Granny Apple Green panel. I cut 2 of these Granny Apple Green panels that are 4 by 5 1/4 because we're going to need one for the front of our card also. So I'm just going to layer these up. I'm going to use multi-purpose glue, but you use whatever glue you like. Let's go around the edge here, and then I'm just going to add a little love in there. All cards need some love. And there we go. Now we're going to put this on the inside of our card. A little more love. And there's the inside. Done. Okay, for our outside, we're going to go ahead and add a granny apple green panel. This is 4 by 5 1/4. Same size that was inside of our card. Just centering that up there. And then I have a pretty peacock panel. This is 3 1/8 by 5 1/8, so it's 1/8 larger than our main panel is here. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer those up. That makes that gold stand out a little bit along the edge too, having that dark panel behind it. And I'm just going to add this to my card front. And I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch around this main panel on the front. There we go. And I have a couple things here. I have a copper clay little strip here, and this is 3/4 of an inch by 2 inch. And I'm just going to add this to the top left of my card front. I love using paper and stuff as embellishments because it is so cost effective, one thing. And then it's not so bumpy in your when you're mailing it. Okay, so there that is. Now, I went ahead and punched a granny apple green sprig, and this is the bow punch. And so I'm using this one here, and I punched out a granny apple green. Well, I wanted to put some pretty peacock color on it. Again, I want to tie into my card, my main panel. So I'm just going to add some of this pretty peacock in the center of this. I'm just going to grab this outer top leaf and then add some of that to the stem. It's all right if you get half of your leaves. It's okay. So isn't that pretty with just a little bit of color on it? Get that little two-tone bit going. Now I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. I'm just going to go right down the center. I'm not so worried about the leaves. You can leave those kind of loose on there. And I'm putting this on so that the top of the leaf kind of comes to the edge of that little strip that we put on. There we go. And then I can just take and cut any overhang off, even with my card. So there that is. Now I just want a little bit of embellishment. Have you seen these? These are the adhesive back textured dots. These dots have little dots on top of them, and these are kind of like an antique gold. And I'm going to go ahead and use my scissors. You can use pick your tool for this or whatever you want to use. Kind of scoop these up. And I'm going to put 3 of these kind of in a little group on my little leaves here. My little sprig. There we go. I like that. Really pretty. And then I just want a little bow for the front. So I'm going to grab some of this linen thread. And I'm not going to take this off the spool yet. I'm going to leave quite a bit here because I want like little tendrils coming down from our little bow. So I'm just going to leave quite a bit of a tail there. I'm going to make my bow. Then you can just play around with it until you get it the size you want. Always make it really small and then pull it tight. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut these off. And then I'm going to adhere this to my card front. And while you have it off the card, if you can hold it by the knot, and if you pull these little legs down, they kind of stay better together then. Okay, I'm just going to take a little mini glue dot. And they're, round, and I'm just going to rub my finger across it to get it to be a little line instead of round, because we don't need that much for the back of this. I'm going to add it to my little knot and then add it to my card. And I'm adding it right on the little stem. That way it looks like it may be wrapped around the stem a bit. And there is your little curlicue bow. You don't have to worry about trying to make these because it's rounded on that little tube, so they stay kind of curly. And there is the finished card, all done and ready to be sent out. Okay, well there is our project for today. I hope you enjoyed this project and that you give it a try. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Doodles.